Hi, my name is Yin Gao and welcome to Dr. Gao's classroom. I'm a professional philosopher and I love classic Chinese poetry. I have been translating classical Chinese poetry for the last few years with a colleague of mine, and I would love to share my knowledge on the subject with you. Your enjoyment is my command. Today, I'm going to talk about two poets and their rivalry. 701 AD was marked as a significant year in Chinese literary history. That is because two great poets were born in that year. They are Li Bai and Wang Wei. I have made 2 videos on Li Bai and 3 videos on Wang Wei. So if you would like to know more about their lives and poetry, please check out those videos from my channel. It was a common practice for Chinese poets to exchange poems or dedicating poems to each other if they knew about each other or they heard about each other, as in the case of Li Bai and Du Fu. I also made 2 videos about the friendship of these 2 great poets. If you would like to check them out, you can also look them out from my channel. Well, Li Bai and Wang Wei lived during exactly the same time, because they were born in the same year, socializing in pretty much the same social circle. They even shared a best friend in the poet named Meng Haoran, and they died only 1 year apart, with Wang Wei in 761 and Li Bai in 762. Yet, they never exchanged any poem. They didn't even mention each other's name in their poetry. So, what happened? Well, I did a bit of research on their family backgrounds and the bias that might potentially impact on their social interaction and their poetry to make an informed guess. That is, there was a serious rivalry between these 2 great poets. Now, the verdict is out. I'm just going to do my detective work. So today's video, I'm going to talk about how family background impact on scholars' political career path and how they might trigger the rivalry between Wang Wei and Li Bai, or at least from Li Bai's perspective. Then I'm going to talk about the fall of Wang Wei's poem on Knight Errant. I choose this poem because this topic is very dear to Li Bai, and he composed many poems on the subject. I have posted a video on Li Bai explaining one of his poems on the topic, so if you're interested, you can check that out. In my next video, I'm going to translate and interpret a couple of Li Bai's poems on the subject. And then I'll compare them to Wang Wei's 4 poems I explained today. So if you're new to my channel, please check out my other videos on classical Chinese poetry. If you like the content of these videos, please click the like button and make a comment, or subscribe my channel. I also offer online one-to-one lessons on classical Chinese poetry, philosophies, and medical literature. So if you would like to read more on these classics, please contact me. I listed my email down below. Otherwise, please enjoy my video. So let's go back to Wang Wei. Wang Wei was born in an aristocrat's family that could be traced back to a high-rank official in the court of the late Han Dynasty in the 3rd century AD. So by the 8th century, in early Tang Dynasty, the Wang clan had become politically extremely powerful, with many generations of high-rank officials who served in the courts of 4 dynasties and witnessed their rise and falls and survived their succession and the chaotic times in between. So as I described in my videos on Wang Wei, such a family background offers huge advantage for Wang Wei to advance in his career path. Of course, Wang Wei's extraordinary talents also play a significant role in his huge success in the civil service examination at the grand age of 21. So by 21, he had established his reputation as the artistic prodigy with talents in poetry, music, and painting. Li Bai, on the other hand, came from a lowly merchant background. The social status of merchants was so low that it was regarded equivalent to that of criminals. As a son of a merchant, he was not even allowed to sit in the civil service examination. Li Bai was so ashamed of his family background, he never revealed the true name of his father. His father was simply known as Li Ke. It was not even a proper name. It simply means the visitor named Li. So although Li Bai boasted that he was related to the royal clan, but that claim was never acknowledged by the court, so the claim was quite dubious. So Li Bai first arrived in Chang'an in 730, the capital, where Wang Wei was already celebrated as a genius poet, and Li Bai was a nobody. Although by the time they were both close friends to Meng Haoran, and they might have heard of each other, and there was no reason for Wang Wei to become friends with Li Bai unless he liked his poetry, as in the case of Wang Wei's friendship with Meng Haoran. So Li Bai, on the other hand, definitely knew about Wang Wei because of his huge success in civil service examination and his talent in poetry. This was also the time when Li Bai started composing poems with the same title as Wang Wei and other famous poets, while Li Bai was trying very hard to prove himself. In 739, Wang Wei was also sent to the remote region of Guangdong, Guangxi, Guizhou, etc. to recruit talents for the court. He's doing this under the direct order from the emperor, while at the same time, Li Bai was desperately seeking recommendation from anyone he might be able to put in a good word for him to the emperor, including a Taoist priest, which was considered quite low. The honorable way of getting a recommendation was to seek it from high-rank official or a member of the royal clan, as Wang Wei did. Wang Wei had recommended Meng Haoran to the emperor, but not Li Bai, who was a friend of Meng Haoran. You might wonder why. One of the reasons might be that Wang Wei looked down upon Li Bai due to the bias against people from merchant background, which was the accepted view among Confucian scholars. In the Analects, a textbook memorized by every scholar and tested in the civil service examination, there is a statement. Let me just try to read it in Chinese and then I'll translate it. 君子喻于义，小人喻于利. Meaning the exemplary person knows about the righteousness or justice, and the petty person knows about profit. So, the merchants' pursuit of profit excluded them from the class of exemplary person, hence unsuitable to be in office. So, in Tang Dynasty, it was politically correct to despise a person from merchant background. So Wang Wei was simply doing the right thing of the time. Of course, this discrimination from someone of his own age must have felt awful for Li Bai. No wonder Li Bai tried so hard to prove himself by composing so many poems by the same title as Wang Wei, as well as other well-known poets. Well, he did this many times. Maybe I'll do a video on this topic in the future. So by the time Li Bai was appointed as the academician in attendance, or Hanlin Gongfeng, in 742, Wang Wei was serving as a rank 6 censor at the court, or 殿中侍御史. Not a high rank position, but very important, because he was responsible for monitoring the behavior of other officials and directly report to the emperor, a position similar to that of a member of anti-corruption committee today. So however, Li Bai's position of academician in attendance, or 翰林供奉, was not a proper position for scholar official. It did not even have a rank. The position was for artistically or technically talented personnel to provide personal services for the emperor. So although they were holding different positions, there would be lots of occasions for Li Bai and Wang Wei to attend the same official or social event. Especially both were known for their poetical talents. It was plausible to imagine that their poetry would be compared or even pitched against each other by fellow officials or fellow scholars. So it is possible that Wang Wei and Li Bai were in serious rivalry. This can be further supported by evidence from their poetry on the same topic. Knight-errant was a popular theme among poets during early Tang Dynasty. In the early Tang Dynasty, the emperors were quite ambitious and took an expansive international policy. They conquered extensive territories during the first century of the dynasty. And of course, this expansive policy offered immense opportunities for youth from aristocrats class to obtain political power via military achievements. As a member of this class, it was quite natural for Wang Wei to be inspired by ambition of military achievement. So Wang Wei's poem told the story of an extraordinary knight-errant from aristocrat's background who achieved huge military success and rewarded by the emperor handsomely with titles and land. This was perhaps the dream of all the young men from aristocrats' families in the Tang Dynasty. So before I show you the poems, let me show you a picture of the Tang Knight-errant. Now let's look at Wang Wei's 4 poems. The title of this set of poems is The Ballad of Young Knight-errant, or 少年行. I'm just going to read the first poems of these 4 from a calligraphy. Here's the calligraphy piece. 新丰美酒斗十千，咸阳游侠多少年。相逢意去为君饮，骑马高楼垂柳边。新丰美酒斗十千。新 means new, 丰 means harvest. So 新丰 is the name of a market where the finest wine was sold at the Tang Dynasty. And that was where the young knight-errant spent his money for the finest wine. 美 is fine. 酒 is wine. 斗 is a volume measure for wine. We could roughly translate it as pint, just to get this sort of classy sense of the dough. And 十 means 10. 千 means 1000. 咸阳游侠多少年. So Xianyang was the fortress to the northwest of Chang'an, the capital. It functions as the last defense, guarding the capital from enemy from the northwest. 游侠 was the term for traveling warriors who often were independent from the government. Sometimes they could be bought by officials to carry out some of the official work, but mostly they were an independent force who had their own code of honor in righting the wrongs. Those wrongs were often committed by the corrupted officials or local bullies. So they were often leading martial art masters or accomplished swordsman with a good reputation for courage and loyalty. The next three characters shows a quite interesting phenomena in Chinese, in classic Chinese. So that is 多少年. So classical Chinese do not have marks for punctuation, as you can see in the calligraphy. It just flow, one line flow into the other. It never stop. So for this phrase, there's two possible way of reading. One is 多少年. The other one is 多少年. So 多少年 means many young men. So 多 is many and 少年 is young man. But if you sort of read it in 多少年, as 多少 means how many and 年 means year. So 多少年 means how many years. When you read it from the written sentence, you can't really tell which one is the better one. But because the title is 少年行, you know that it's 多少年. This phenomenon in classical Chinese was exploited by many poets to punctuate a sentence in different ways to get many different readings. They often play games with different punctuation when reading classics, especially poetry, so that you can actually make different sense. I might make a video on this in the future. Okay, so when you put these two lines together, it reads, the many young knight-errants of Xianyang spend 10,000 coins for a pint of fine wine from New Harvest Market. So the next two lines reads, 相逢意气为君饮. So 相逢 means meet, 意 means intention, 气 often translated as energy or breath, but it can also be interpreted as attitude, as in 气度, attitude or demeanor. So when combined with 意, as in this phrase, 意气 means that they were in high spirit. 为 means for, 君 is you, and 饮 is drink. 骑马高楼垂柳边. So 骑 is tie, 马 is horse, 高 is high, and 楼 is tower, and 垂柳 is willow, and 边 is on the side of something. I want to explain a little bit because 高楼 doesn't literally means restaurant. It just means high tower. But I think here you can interpret it as high-end restaurant because during the Tang Dynasty, there were already a lot of wine bars in the marketplace. And they were usually small restaurants, but they were also high-rise buildings as the high-end restaurant. So in the textual context of this poem, the high tower was clearly a restaurant because they were selling expensive wines. I'm also going to reverse the order of these two lines to make them read better in English. So when you put these two lines together, it reads, they tethered their horses to the willows of the high-end restaurant and drank wine with each other in high spirit. This would read much better because the knight-errant had to tie up their horse to the tree before they could join their friends in the restaurant to have a drink. So the next poem started with 出身仕汉与琳琅. 出身 means coming from, mostly referring to the family background. 仕 here is an abbreviation of 出仕, meaning taking up an office. Han refers to the Han Dynasty. So 仕汉 means to take up a official position in the Han Dynasty. So it is a common practice among the poets that they would not directly discuss the current regime in case they might unwittingly offend the emperor. So they would instead comment on past dynasties to imply their critique or even compliments of the current emperor or dynasty. So here, Wang Wei clearly was talking about the Tang knight-errant, but he pretended that he was talking about the knight errant of the Han Dynasty, because later on he's going to talk about the emperor, so it's the Han Emperor. So 仕汉 here means taking up a office in the Han Dynasty. The next word 羽林郎 is a abbreviation of 羽林中郎将, a title for the officers of the royal guard in the Han Dynasty. These officers were recruited from families of generals or aristocrats to ensure their loyalty to the royal family. The next line, 出随骠骑战于阳. 出 is initially and 随 is follow. 骠骑 is actually a title for a general, a abbreviation of 骠骑将军, cavalry general, a title for the great Han general 霍去病, but here is used as a generic term referring to high-rank generals. 战 is fight. 渔阳 is the frontier of the Tang Dynasty. It is located in today's Hebei province. So when you put these two lines together, it can be translated as they were from the Han Dynasty inner guard noble families and followed Huo, the cavalry general, to fight at the Yuyang frontier. The next poem starts with 孰知不向边庭苦. So 孰 is who, 知 is know, and 不 is not, and 向 is towards. 边 is the frontier and 庭 is the offices at the frontier. But here, the two characters are combined to mean the battles of defending frontier as well as the administrative tasks the officers needed to attend. So the phrase just referred to the frontier. 苦 literally means the taste of bitter, but here it refers to the hardship. The next line reads, 纵使犹闻峡谷乡. So 纵 means even if, 死 means die, and 犹 is still, and 闻 literally means smell. It also means heard, actually. And 峡 here is used as an adjective to describe the remains of knight errant. It means courageous. So it's like 侠气, the courageous attitude. 骨 means bone. Here just the remains of the knight errant, so after they died. And 香 is fragrance. So when you put these two lines together, it means who would not know the hardship at the frontier? Even if they die, their bones would still be fragrant. Fragrant means that they would be having a very good reputation in the future. So that's what the fragrance referred to. So the next poem started with describing their skills. 一身能破两雕壶. 一 is one, and 身 is the body, and 能 means can. 破 literally means to use the thumb to draw a bow, and 两 means two, and 雕 means decorated or carved. 壶 is bow. 裸骑千重只是无. So 裸 means enemy, 骑 means cavalry, and 千 means thousand, 重 means layers. Here it is used to describe that the knight errant meet one enemy after another. It's like a layer of enemies. Means he continued to defeat one enemy after another. 只是 means as if, and 无 means nothing. When you put these two lines together, it means one of them can draw two decorated bows at once and fight 1,000 enemies as if they were nothing. And the next two lines continue to describe how the knight errants fight in the battle. 偏坐金鞍调白羽. So 偏 is like lean to the side. 坐 means sit. 金 means gold or golden. An means saddle. And 调 means adjust. Bai means white. Yu means feather. Fen fen is one word, means one after another. And se means shoot. Sa means kill. Wu means 5. And Chan Yu is the title for the Hun chieftain. So when you put these two lines together, it means he leans on the side of his golden shadow and adjusts his white feathered arrows. One by one, he eliminates each of the 5 Hun chieftains. So this last poem started with a banquet. 汉家君臣欢宴中. So 汉家, here again, Wang Wei pretending that he was talking about the Han Emperor. 汉家 means Han Dynasty, and Jun means the emperor, and Chen means the officials and the generals. Huan means merry and happy, and Yan means banquet. Zhong means and. 高义云台论战功. So 高 means high, and 义 means discuss. Yun Tai is a hall in the Han Palace where usually they would have high-level meetings. Lun is sorting out or sort out. 战 means battle, and 战功 means military achievement. So when you put these two lines together, it can be translated as, after the Han Emperor entertained his officials and generals with merry banquets, he had a high meeting at the Cloud Terrace to sort out the rewards for the military achievement. The whole poem concluded with the following lines. 天子临轩赤侯印. 天子 actually means the son of heaven. It just referred to the emperor. 临 means descent, and xuan is the high-rise tower or the balcony on the high-rise tower. 赤 is a reward, but here just gave out. 侯 means the title. 印 is the seal. 将军 means general. 佩 means wear. This is quite interesting. In Chinese, when you wear it above your neck, you use the word 带. But when you wear it below your shoulder, it means 佩. 出 is leaf. 明光 means bright light, but it's the name of the palace. 宫, of course, means palace. So when you put these two lines together, it can be translated as, the Son of Heaven descends from on high to give out the seals of official titles. The generals, wearing their seals, left the palace with their rewards. So this is the 4 poems that Wang Wei composed under the title of 少年行, or the Young Knight Errant. Wang Wei composed these 4 poems in his late teen or early 20s. Like his other poems, these 4 poems achieve high popularity among scholar officials. After composing these 4 poems, Wang Wei dropped the topic and moved on. However, Li Bai first composed 2 short poems with exactly the same title in his mid-20s, and a third, which was much longer, in his early 30s. Later on, during his early 30, even 40, he composed another 2 poems. Both are excellent poems on the same subject with slightly different titles. I have explained one of Li Bai's poem in this title. If you would like to learn about this poem, please check out my second video on Li Bai, where I presented a detailed translation and interpretation of the poem. So it is plausible to argue that Li Bai is trying to outdo Wang Wei on this subject. So he tried again and again until he was satisfied that he had outdone Wang Wei. So that's my evidence for the rivalry. However, there are significant differences between Wang Wei's image of the knight errant from that of Li Bai. The knight-errant in Wang Wei's poems is someone from an aristocrat's background, loyal to his king or emperor, an excellent swordsman, and willing to fight for his lord and country. Although he might drink a lot and do some other naughty things with his fellow knight-errant, he was, first and foremost, willing to sacrifice for his lord. Most importantly, his military achievements were acknowledged and awarded with titles and land by his king or emperor. There is no description of his appearance, clothes, or courage to right the wrong on his own, or disappointment with the emperor or court. It describes an ideal career path for a young aristocrat to rise to the very top, governed by a wise emperor. So at his early 20s, this was Wang Wei's inspiration. Li Bai's knight-errant, on the other hand, was quite different, as you will see in my next video. So in my next video, I'm going to talk about 3 poems on knight-errants from Li Bai. One with the same title, 2 with slightly different titles from Wang Wei's poem. So if you're new to my channel, please subscribe my channel. I also offer one-to-one online lesson on classic Chinese poetry, philosophies, and medical literature. So if you're interested in reading these classics with me, please contact me. I listed my email down below. Otherwise, thanks for viewing my video, and hopefully I'll see you in my next video.